Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So great to have you. Nice to have the people in the room and to everyone who's joining us live. Thanks for spending some time with us. We are really delighted to kick off our Crisis to Transformation series. And really our goal right now is to make some lemonade together. You know, this is an extraordinarily challenging time for everybody globally, this whole planet. But here in our country, we're definitely going through it, being stretched, and seeing what we can do. And in the educational space, this is clearly such an incredibly trying time. And really, our question is, how can we keep our inspiration high, our innovation high, and together find solutions to stay effective in our fundamental goal to be here for the young people, for each other, for the families, for our communities. And so we want to pour some love on that intention and bring a series of amazing visionary educators to share with you what inspires them, the opportunities they see, the ways that we can seize this moment to imagine new possibilities to better serve our youth, our communities. So we have an amazing guest this evening, Miss Joyane Ligonde, who in a moment is going to take us away and share. I'll introduce her in a moment. We also have my brother, Coach Ambrose, here. He'll introduce himself, and my name is Ilan Gepner-Dales, and I'll be with you over this series. I've been in education for 15 years, and really the tools I've found through work to manage my mind and emotions have been the thing that kept me going. And so my passion really is helping people to navigate stress and challenges and find tools to stay present and focused and energized and inspired. So very happy to be here with you all. So maybe Ambrose, you can share a little about yourself, and then we'll hear from some others and get this party started.
Yeah, I'm Ambrose WB, Coach Ambrose here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I've been a coach for 15 years and got really lucky to meet the Sky Schools family and team about 7 years ago. And I was a volunteer for the first 2 or 3 years with the program. Like Alon, I realized how much I was able to better manage my own stress and emotions and wanted to share that with other people. So now I direct the program here locally in Milwaukee and just looking to bring this to more children, more parents, and more educators. And very happy to be here.
Amazing. So we'd love to welcome any of you out there also to share with us just how you're doing. We just want to take a really brief moment and check in. So if you're in the Zoom, you could share, but you can also drop it in the chat, and just, you know, what's going on for you right now. Anything you want to share about how this moment is affecting you, you know, what you are facing. Do it on Facebook. You can drop it in the comments or drop it in the chat. One word, how you're feeling these days. Anything. Impossible decisions. I resonate with that. There are very few easy roads. Finding healthy transitions right now. Being purposeful. So much to do. Perplexed. Like schools are in boomerang mode. We have breath work has helped me to energize myself instead of slipping into chaos. More purposeful. Beautiful. Well, it's wonderful just to hear where people are and to have a sense of what folks are going through at this time. And really our goal for this series is to hear from you what you need and see if we can bring a little bit of support in those areas. So tonight's speaker is an incredible educator, a mentor and inspiration of mine. Joyane is not only award-winning principal, both for academic success and climate and culture, inclusive schools award winner, and is also a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, an aromatherapist, a coach, and the founder of Joyous Leader International, as well as a professor, a trainer of other principals. If I were to go into her resume much more deeply, we'd be here all night long. But so multifaceted and so passionate about people and helping people to be their greatest version of themselves and their happiest version of themselves. And it's been such an honor for me to be able to witness Joyane as a principal and the community that she builds, and really excited for what she has to share with us tonight in this really key moment in time. So Joyane, thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna put the light on you, and we are all yours.
Well, first of all, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. I am just so incredibly fortunate to have encountered Sky Schools. One of my roles that Alon failed to mention is that I'm also a Sky Schools teacher. That's one of my proudest accomplishments. And so to be part of this, the Sky Schools family is really one of my joys. And kudos to Alon and the whole Sky Schools team for putting this webinar series together, because we know as educators, parents and students, we need each other to be able to grow and navigate these murky waters that we are in. We are in the midst of two pandemics, right? We are in the midst of a pandemic that is literally taking our breath away with COVID-19, and we are in another pandemic of racial injustice. And really finding ways to navigate that, finding words to speak, and really creating that space of joy. And I know, and you may be able to ask yourself right now, well, Joyane, how can I find joy and deal with two pandemics at the same time? And so let's really explore this together to go inward, right? And so as we explore diversity, equity, and excellence, really recognizing that we're one world family and no one is exempt from the journey that we are on right now. So I am going to share my screen. And as I shared earlier, it's today we're going to be talking about creating joyous spaces, not only in our lives, but in the spaces that we occupy at work, in schools. Specifically as a principal, the school is a small microcosm of the society. And so it's so important for us to create that sense of community there. So there are a couple of things that I would ask of those of you who are joining on Zoom and those of you who are joining on Facebook is, can you be open? You know, let's go on this journey together. You're with us for the next hour. So grab a pen and a pencil and paper. And this will be an active workshop for the most part, just so that we can explore these questions and these ideas together. So first is, what is your reason for being here? So I'd love for those of you who are on Zoom, let me hear you. Let me see your comments here. Why are you here? What brings you here? Certainly there's been an invitation that's been extended to you. However, what are you hoping to get out of this session? And those of you who are on Facebook, please explore that same. I know for me, it comes from that sense of passion and from the need to give back. My daughter is the reason why I'm here, my oldest. I have to tell you that in the midst of after what happened to George Floyd, I walked into her room one night and I just, you know, and she was experiencing the devastation of what she had witnessed. And I held her in my arms and I felt helpless. And I couldn't explain what she had seen. And her question to me is a question that stayed with me and that stays with me as I continue my activism journey. I can't say that I was this way before this happened. You know, I think I've been awakened by her own activism and her own desire to bring love into the world. And her question was, Why do they hate us? So part of that discussion for me as a mom, I was speechless. I don't know where you were and what you're experiencing and what you're feeling and what your questions are, but for me, that question was posed to me by my daughter. And as much as I tried to assure her that it's a lack of ignorance that creates hate, it felt so personal that I held her in my arms and we both cried, and we found solace, we found peace and calm through the being together and figure out how to navigate. And from that evening, I made a personal commitment to continue this work and to do this work and to have the difficult conversations, but to do them with compassion and grace. Because the reality is, they is us. We are they. They are we. How them, us. So when we begin to think in those terms and think about, well, what is the reason why we're here in this space right now? You're here because you're exemplary. You're here because you're looking for to expand your mind, to expand your experience. You're here because you want to be here. And so I honor you for being here this evening to share this space with us. So our work together this evening is a bit heavy, but it's, we'll make the absolute best of it. We're going to engage in a dynamic exploration of our own implicit bias and what causes it, systemic change and healing, examine the effects of social constructs of race and the institutionalized systems in society. And really, I would say more importantly, self-change creates societal change. And so we're growing in personal awareness and accountability to oneself and others. And part of doing that is we do that by listening to our own words, observe our own actions, and welcome feedback, and understanding our own and other people's racial identity journey. Everyone has a racial identity journey. No one is exempt, okay? And to really look at, because this is certainly an educational space, right? How can this positively impact a student's academic performance, boost teacher-student relationships, colleague to colleague, parent-teacher, cross-racial relationships, and really being able to provide tools to engage in race talks as the country experiences increasing racial tension. So the work begins with you. The work begins with me, and the work begins with us. So I'd like for you to explore this question. Who belongs here and where is here? So think of a time that you walked into a space and you felt you didn't belong. How did you feel? Right? Those negative feelings may be coming up for you. And that's anybody, right? All of us. Sometimes we walk into a space, we may walk into a store, we walk into an office, we just feel the energy that we don't belong. And other times it's very explicit. So there's an implicit, understood energy, right? And there are explicit words and actions also that are formed. So it's really important to keep in mind both of those things. Keep in mind how you felt, right? And what in the environment contributed to those feelings? If there were people involved, what were their facial expressions? What did they say to you? How did they make you feel? Were they open? Right? So understanding that, what does it feel like not to belong? And now, how does it feel to actually belong? So I'm going to give you a minute to really think about that and feel those feelings. How does it feel to belong? Do you feel more at peace? Do you feel joy? A sense of empowerment? How does it feel to belong? Right? And what in the environment contributed to your feelings? How were the people around you? How did the place look? What were those implicit understood behaviors, right? And what were those explicit, intentional behaviors that made you feel that you belonged? So as we think about belongingness, who belongs, who doesn't belong, and who makes that choice, right? These are ideas that we're brought up with. And so all of that really gets filtered through our beliefs and our values. So our beliefs and our values control our entire lives, period, right? All beliefs carry with them consequences, believe it or not, they do. Every single belief you have, whether intentional, consciously or subconsciously, carry some consequence. That consequence may be positive or that consequence may be negative, right? So it's impossible to change something that you are unaware of. I'm going to repeat that. It's absolutely impossible to change something that you are unaware of. So understand that your beliefs not only created your past, they're creating your present moment and they're creating your future. The beauty about beliefs is that they can change. Beliefs are not truths. So a lot of times that we have that trouble, we have a trouble distinguishing between what is a belief and what is the truth, right? Belief and fact are different. Belief and truth are also different. Beliefs can actually change. So, however, our beliefs create our thoughts, our sensations, and our feelings. And understanding that some decisions may keep us from momentary pain and discomfort, but overall in our lives, they create major long-term consequences. And the other thing to understand is that there's a subconscious nature to all of that. So some of it is full awareness. We are aware that those beliefs created these thoughts, these feelings, these actions. Most of the time, guess what? Our subconscious is in charge. And so we are completely unaware that 89% of our actions and our words are based on the beliefs that we don't even recognize. We're unaware of. So what is our responsibility is to bring ourselves to greater awareness. So let's meet our amygdala and our blind spots. Because when we find that greater awareness with our brain and who we are and how it all works together, then we grow. Then that gap gets much smaller between our beliefs, our ideal self, and where we actually want to be and who we would actually like to be. So understanding that your amygdala is the most primitive part of your brain, it triggers your fight or flight response. So you may be saying to yourself, well, Joanne, what does that have to do with diversity, equity, and excellence? Like, I don't understand. Well, guess what? It is where your emotions are processed. It forces you to make snap judgments and decisions. So when we react from this place, we may actually be reacting from a place of unconscious bias, right? Because we're not even aware that we have these beliefs from when we were growing up, because mommy said it, daddy said it, a friend said it, whoever, and all of those beliefs that we have may not actually be even our own beliefs. They're the beliefs of other people that we have just now adopted as our own. They create that basis for our own unconscious bias, right? So unconscious bias actually occurs automatically in your brain when you make quick judgments, quick snap judgments, right? And so it's so important to slow down our amygdala and bring greater awareness and clarity to our decisions. And that happens with the breath. And I'm sure that Alon and Coach Ambrose there will definitely be talking to us a little bit more about the power of the breath to kind of like slow down that process. And we also have to recognize conscious bias that occurs with intent deliberately. So let's talk about conscious or unconscious. Right now, you are all consciously with us. You are present. You are here. I see the heads are nodding, right? Unconscious may be that recording that's happening in your brain, questioning possibly what I'm saying to you, right? So it just bring that awareness throughout this presentation between what you're unconsciously processing. See if you can bring that into awareness so we can question it, we can investigate it a little bit more. Think about this quote. Audre Lorde is one of my favorites. Absolute favorite powerhouse woman, right? So she says there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live in a single issue life. There is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. What does that mean? Intersectionality, right? We are all complex beings. So for me, when you look at me, first thing you see, oh, she's a Black woman. She's a light-skinned Black woman. Do you know that I'm Haitian? Right? Do you know that I speak 4 languages? So the first thing is when we think about the amygdala, unconsciously we're processing just based on what we see. We're making those quick snap judgments. However, there's so many different elements that contribute to who we are. And that happens with physical abilities, qualities, age, sexual orientation, ethnicity, race, gender, parental status, where you live, your thinking style, religious beliefs, right? Are you native born? Are you born in this country? Are you not born in this country? I wasn't born in this country, right? I'm a naturalized citizen, and I'm putting all of my personal out there because guess what? It's important for you to see that what you may have thought may not be what actually is, right? And those are based on unconscious biases. So really, as we explore the question of ethnicity, as we explore the question of race, we really have to keep in mind intersectionality. How are you privileged? So yes, as a Black woman, I have privileges, but it's important to speak about privilege as they're earned privileges. That means I worked my tail off for this privilege, right? And they're privileges that are automatically given based on the color of one's skin. And what is our responsibility with those privileges? So let's explore them. There's class privilege, there's citizenship privileges, sexuality privilege, white race, ethnicity, and culture privilege, cisgender privilege, male masculine privilege, ability privilege, linguistic privilege. I mean, we can list the number of privileges that we all have, right? And we all have them. No one is exempt. No one is exempt. However, the question remains, what is your responsibility in ensuring equity and excellence for all human beings, especially those who are not regarded as you are? So that's the question. So we're going to take a quiz. It's called the privilege quiz. So as you go through, as I ask you a question, I will read a statement. Actually, I'd like for you to put a 1, just a dash, a 1, right? As you go through, okay. Oh, we're gonna leave that there. So let's go forward with, I can afford to visit a healthcare professional multiple times per year. If you can afford to do that, just put a 1. I have access to transportation that will get me to where I need to go. I have knowledge of and access to community resources. I can swear or commit a crime without people attributing it to the low morals of my class. I can update my wardrobe with new clothes to match current styles and trends. Regardless of the season, I can count on my home remaining a comfortable temperature. My decision to go or not go to college wasn't based entirely on financial determinants. I know that I will be paid at least minimum wage at a job and that labor laws will protect me. If I'm mistreated or a crime is committed against me, I have some hope of being able to access legal recourse. I am not worried on a daily basis about being discovered and deported along with or away from my family. And I don't have to worry that a small misstep could lead to my deportation, even if I currently have legal papers to be in the US. If a police officer pulls me over, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my perceived immigration status. No one ever tells me to speak a particular language or get out of their country. I can expect that I'll receive all days off from work for holidays that matter to me. People know how to pronounce my name. I am never mocked or perceived as a threat because of my name. Again, if you're just joining us, you're just putting a 1 if it applies to you. If it doesn't apply to you, you just let it be. I know that the police and other state authorities are there to protect me. People of my race are widely represented in media, positively as well as negatively. When I am told about our national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is. I do not have to think about my race or ethnicity. In fact, I don't really notice it at all. I do not have to worry about incarceration unless I commit a very serious crime. There have never been attempts to scientifically or socially eliminate people of my race or ethnicity. My gender is an option on legal forms. No one will disagree with my stated gender or accuse me of lying. I am able to go to new places knowing there will be bathrooms there I can use and people who will respect me. I will have immediate access to my loved one in case of accident or emergency. When my partner dies, I will receive paid leave to grieve. I will not be fired from my job for my sexuality. I can go to new places knowing that I will be able to move through the space. If I have a medical problem, I don't have to worry that doctors will dismiss it as part of a pre-existing ability-related condition. There are not scientific efforts to eradicate people with my DNA. People do not pity me or call my quality of life into question. People don't think I'm lazy or stupid when I need to try something again. People do not make assumptions about my intelligence based on my language ability. So, how many ones did you get? Right? So when we think about privilege, the greater the privilege, the greater the responsibility. The greater the privilege, the greater the responsibility. Because when we think about equity, what is the impact of equity? You know, equity is in social justice referred to the responsibility of a society to ensure that all human rights are preserved and protected for each individual, not some individuals, all of us. So we're in this together, that we're all treated equally, right? Regardless of our race, our wealth, our religion, our creed, our gender expressions, our weight, our mental health, our age, our national origin, our ancestry, disability, marital status, sexual orientation, or military status, right? But when we're in the position of being privileged, I'm all good, right? Unless it happens to you or it happens to someone close to you. But we're one world family. So what impacts you impacts me. What impacts me impacts you. And the more you are privileged, the more responsibility you have to ensure equity of others. So what is the impact of inequity? Racial inequity concerns unequal outcomes in emotional health, mental health, housing and education, jobs and economic opportunities, criminal justice, life expectancy, and physical health and income and wealth. So how do we address it? How do we address this in our schools? Because these are societal issues, right? World issues, certainly American issues that we are grappling with in the news, we're grappling with in our society. And guess what? We're grappling with them as well in our schools. And so there are 4 focus words that I'd like for us to really consider here. One is, it's important to validate who people are. Let's validate who people are. When people tell me they don't see my color, I say, are you serious? Absolutely, you see it. And not seeing my color is not seeing me. So it's really important. However, seeing me and celebrating me and saying, yeah, that's my girl, that's different. So our students, our staff, the people we are around, our friends want to be seen and want to be heard. This time, we're focused on Black lives because of the attack, because of the injustice. Know that tomorrow may be on another set of lives. The next day, it could be another group. We have to stop that. We have to eradicate all of that. So there's a clear answer to when someone asks, someone asks you, why do we say Black Lives Matter? Why does that matter right now? It matters right now because we're hurting. It matters right now because the pain is real. Because when I watch it on TV, I feel like it's my child, it's my son, it's my brother, it's my nephew, it's my uncle, it's my cousin. So it absolutely matters. And the other question is, do all lives matter? Absolutely, all lives matter. However, right now, we need to concentrate our efforts on making sure that there's equity for our Black brothers and sisters who are experiencing serious trauma from what's happening in our world. So we come together, right? We come together to make that happen. When we talk about Native Americans, the indigenous tribes, same thing. We have to come together, right? To say, okay, let's be supportive because you're in pain now. It's just like the same thing. If I go home and I'm speaking to my children and I'm speaking to my husband and I'm sharing with him let's say the horrible day I had, I really hope that he's not going to immediately tell me about his horrible day. I really hope that he spends that time listening to me and comforting me about my horrible day so that I can now create space to listen to his story, his horrible day. And that's what we have to do with each other, taking turns to attend to the pain that is in front of us. It is not the time to say, well, let me tell you about what's happened to me. No, I'm in pain right now. Give me that moment. Give me that space. So as we all experience different injustices and different pains, it's just so crucial for us to all come together to validate each other's feelings, validate each other's situations, and build connections with home language. It's our responsibility to learn, affirm, and of course, bridge the gap that are missing, giving opportunities for us to bridge the gaps that exist. And we do that through building our knowledge, our skills, and our attitudes, right? Those are key elements for us. It is not on someone else to educate us. It is on us to educate ourselves. And it all starts with critical love. I think it all goes back to love. We're one world family. And so we start with really a commitment to caring for the communities in which we work, in which we live. Critical humility. Remain open to understanding the limits of our own worldviews and ideologies, right? Listening to different perspectives. Critical reflection. Thinking through the different layers of our identities and how privileged and marginalized statuses affect the work that we're doing. right? And let's interrupt this racism, inequality, in personal and systemic levels, even though we're benefiting from it. And again, I'm not exempt, right? We're all in this together. We all have that responsibility. So as we review our infrastructure, this is a framework that we use in the invitational schools model, but I thought it'd be effective here too. So when we look at our schools, right, are people properly represented? Is there representation? Because representation and belongingness matter. Who are you? Who are your students? Right? Programs, access matters. Do programs and curricular offerings represent variety of voices and perspectives? Or our students, our educators, are they seeing themselves? Are they feeling seen? Are they feeling heard, right? Processes, are they democratic, evaluative, collaborative, clear, easy, complex? Policies, equity matters. Are they fair? Or are we letting the amygdala run? Do we have clear processes that are equitable and consistent, just, inclusive, caring, and consistent? And the place. Do you create a place for people of color to be highlighted in your classrooms, on your platforms, in your spaces? And how do you give back? Right? How do we give back? So what is our framework to grow? Awareness, education, and action for change. First is you have to bring it to your awareness by observing your own reactions to situations, your own reactions to different people, and begin to question that. I wonder, where did that come from? So that you can really uncover these unconscious biases, right? Education, explore other perspectives and voices and listen more. Ask questions. Many times we go around making assumptions, and it's so important to limit the assumptions that we make. So we don't make assumptions, we don't take it personally, but we're ready to support people as they present their whole authentic selves to us, and certainly take action for change. And we do that through communication. The first pillar of communication, for me, I call it the 5 C's of communication, is candor. Be truthful. But be truthful, but it's important to be truthful and compassionate, right? We can express truth in different ways. So it's important to be objective and to be curious, about what's happening. Be honest and have the courage to honor the truth and accept the difficulties in a relationship. And part of that is accepting that, hey, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Sorry I hurt your feelings. I will do better. Courage to take responsibility. And that's for all of us, right? Having that compassion. Compassion meaning that I'll do my best to place myself in that sense of belongingness. Many people say, well, I don't know what it's like to be this. I don't know what it's like to be this person. But guess what? You know what it feels like to belong. That's why we started with that. How does it feel to belong? And what can you do to ensure that everyone belongs? Right? Because everybody wants to belong. Commitment. Honor your commitment. If you made a commitment, honor your commitment to the conversation and staying engaged even when it gets difficult. And in any conversation, there are rhythms and tides, right? There are waves. And I'm sure in this conversation, although it seems like it's a one-way conversation, right? But there are thoughts going through your head. Stay committed, even though it may be difficult. You may have disagreed with something that I've said, right? So it's really important to think about that and to care. Express care for the well-being of the human being in front of you. Take actions can be horrendous. The actions can be horrendous and the person can still be a good person. And sometimes, because we're acting out of that fight or flight system, sometimes our actions are unintentionally harmful. But that unintentional harm can cause great pain. We still have to take responsibility for it. So there is intentional harm, just like there's conscious bias. There's unconscious bias and unintentional harm. But when someone has expressed that, hey, I'm hurting, let's take responsibility for that pain and that hurt. It's not, you may question what has been said wrong or what was done wrong, but showing that I care about you. I care that you are in pain, right? So really, as we engage in communication in these difficult conversations, let's honor candor, courage, compassion, commitment, and care. So as I end this presentation this evening, I ask you, What can we do to learn, teach, and honor the diversity in all of the spaces that we occupy? How can you be more mindful of your unconscious bias? How can you communicate, possibly with your loved ones, with your friends, with your, with your coworkers, with the people you lead, with more candor, compassion, courage, and care? So these are important questions for all of us to explore, and I explore them on a daily basis as I challenge myself to be better and do better, take more responsibility. Um, and it's upon you too to take more responsibility, to be better and do better. Alon?
Thank you. I'm still digesting my my privilege score here. I got a lot of responsibility. Thank you, Joanne. It was extremely powerful and poignant as always. And I could speak, but I want to just listen for a moment. We have a few moments for some questions. So I invite anybody watching on Facebook or here in the group who has a question or comment that they'd like to share.
I actually would like to pose a question to Joanne. I think we met in 2014, which is about 6 years ago, at your school. And at the time when we met, you were very energetic, very driven, a lot of commitment on your end. And I see now as the years progress, you've maintained that energy. I imagine you've maintained it in the school as well. And so the question is, what sort of tools or how were you managing yourself prior to Sky? Because even before Sky, you were a very dynamic woman. So what tools did you bring over, and perhaps what tools did you add, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Such a powerful question. So I was actually introduced to meditation at Teachers College in the Summer Principals Academy. And so I was dabbling in it. I wasn't committed, right? But I was aware of that. And I think there's some tactical tools that make us strategic thinkers. And I think when you met me, I had the passion and I had the strategic, I had the strategy going. What you couldn't see was the need for more. Right? The need to really establish myself in a practice. And I think that's what Sky offered me, that sense of consistency and continuity and commitment. And so now I'm committed to a daily self-care practice from not only myself, but as I work with clients and as I work with educational leaders all over the world, really, and other organizational leaders, I encourage them to have a self-care practice that is embedded in breath work, but also embedded in self-reflection and self-discovery. Right? And so the passion without structure is a challenge, right? Because it becomes unruly in some ways. And so it's really important to be able to balance both. And I think that my daily practice really enabled me to have greater depth, a greater vision. Thank you for this question, Diego. You're really, it's really making me think here, right? I think it calmed me down, and I needed to calm down a little bit. I needed that space to grow and expand. And I'm continuing to expand as I find these quiet moments to reflect and ask myself questions through self-observation, self-discovery in these compassionate acts, right? And being inspired by all of you and seeing the commitment and finding that inspiration and having that critical humility. That's what my practice has taught me, to be humble about other people's experiences. When I couldn't answer my daughter that night, it's a night I'll never forget, right? I felt helpless. I felt completely helpless. The only thing we could do in that moment is pray and breathe, literally, like take deep breaths, because that was it. So for me, it's so foundational to who I am and to who I'm becoming, because we're constantly becoming. And so yeah, thank you for forcing that reflection upon me. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one more question.
I got a question. So Joanne, here in Milwaukee, meeting people like yourself in the position of principal is always an honor and a treat. I have a call for a principal tomorrow that I'm really excited about. If you're going to speak directly to leadership in schools, what would you tell them right now?
Right now, the first thing I would tell a leader is know where you are and know who you are. Just like we started this meeting, right? Because who you are matters in that space. While we may be the people who are less thinked, right? We create the levers of success for everyone we encounter. And so your own mental health, your own stability matters. Your own strategic actions matter. So who you are and where you are matters. So the first thing I would do is honor that human being in front of me, because beyond them being a leader, they're human beings. They have families too. They have feelings too. I have to tell you, this week, was it last week? I think last week I had a moment. I was like, but I meditate. I'm stressed. I mean, I literally had a moment. I was like, but I really do meditate every day. I am doing my practice. I started actually getting into more physical activity. And yet I was feeling the pangs of stress, like massive stress, because of the enormous responsibilities and challenges that I'm encountering professionally and personally as well. And so imagine if people do not have tools, self-care tools to be able to manage, and yet they're not only responsible to manage themselves, which is a great responsibility in itself, they have to manage others and lead others. Right? So first I would say is create a space for you to be, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the morning. And then now let's talk about the technical aspects of management and leadership, especially as you lead schools. What are the challenges that you're encountering? And how can I create space for you so I can support you through these challenges? And it is breath work, but it's also beyond breath work. Breath work is a foundational practice. However, there are cognitive processes that help us to think more critically, think more creatively, so that we can come up with solutions that have never been thought before, right? Because now we're in 2 pandemics, as I said. So I would say giving them that space, giving them that space. If that space is properly created and they feel that they belong, they will share some of those challenges with you. I think sometimes we go into schools and we want to fix. We can't go into school wanting to fix, right? Because there are amazing things already happening. So let's build on what's happening. Again, it goes back to that slide, right? It's important to validate. It's important to build, right? It's important to bridge, and it's important to affirm. So build, bridge, validate, affirm. Build, bridge, validate, affirm. Say that 5 times. No, I'm joking, coach. Gotta have some fun here. This is the joyous space, right?
You always keep it joyous, Joanne. Your smile, your energy, your spirit, your heart, it's a real gift for all of us. And you create that space for everyone. Walking into your office with everything that's going on, you create a space to just be present. And it's a real gift. So thank you for what you do for the 1,000 people, the 1,100 people in your building, all their families, your community, and all of us, the extended community. You take so much responsibility beyond your building. I want to thank you, and I want to also honor everybody's time. And Coach Ambrose, maybe we can throw it back to you. Would you give us all a little gift? Help us take a little moment to reset as we close out our evening?
Yeah, we do a little bit of self-care for ourselves and a really easy breathing meditation. So We can start by sitting up straight in our chairs. Hey, I'm into feet flat on the floor, no special hand postures. Let's start by moving these shoulders. I don't know about you, but me and Alana were on a Zoom call this morning at 8:30 this morning. Sure you've been going all day. You go forward if you've been going forward, then switch it up. Backwards, I'm gonna go forward now. And nice. Drop the chin to the chest and roll to your right shoulder. Hang out for a little bit. Go to your left shoulder. Hang out a little bit. At your own pace, just go back and forth. If you're like me, your eyes are closed already. Closed or keep them low. Bring your head back up to a neutral position, and again, my eyes are closed, but do what's comfortable. Let's bring our palms to our scalp. And start doing a nice little rotation, small circles, moving that top layer of skin, going from the front to the back, and back to the front. Bring your fingertips to your forehead and making small circles in the middle to your temples, back to the middle. Now you can just bring your forefinger, your thumb, just to trace your eyebrows. In the middle, the sides of your head. Nice and gentle. And you bring your thumb under your eyes. Just trace your eye bone, right underneath your eyes with your thumbs. From the bridge of your nose to your cheeks. Then bring your thumbs to your nose and trace your nose. From the top all the way down to towards your lips. And lastly, let's rake those cheeks. Right, you may have been talking all day, you're stressing your jaws, let your mouth hang. Turn your camera off if you're worried about looking silly. Just let it hang out. And let's just shake it out. All right. Sitting back up straight again. Eyes are closed. Bring your attention to your breath. Nothing special you have to do right now. To Joanne's point, a little bit of awareness goes a long way. Become aware of your breathing without trying to change anything. Your mind is wandering, that's natural. I'll give you a couple of anchors. One anchor is becoming aware of the breath on your lip. Think upon where you are as you breathe in. It might be a little cool. As you breathe out, a little bit warmer. That's one anchor or thing that you can focus on. In the Sky Schools family, you might be already shifting your breath to using victory breath. That's okay too. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Become aware of the sound you hear as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And lastly, you can take your right hand, put it on your belly. You might realize that your belly gets big as you breathe in and small as you breathe out. Now, with conscious awareness, we're going to take 10 deep breaths in and out on our own rhythm. Begin when you're ready, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Do that on your own. Deep breaths in, big breaths out. Repeat your last breath. So to make the sound, rub your hands together, get them nice and warm. Get back into our bodies. Just place your hand over your eyes and your cheeks for a few moments. Feel that warmth. In your own time, begin to slowly and easily open your eyes.
Thank you so much, Coach. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking this time to take care of yourself and to care for others. Joanne, thank you for the love you shared with us tonight and the inspiration. May we all take this back to use it in our lives, in our communities, serve our young people, our peers, our families, and this one world family, as you put it. If we all show up for our one world family, we have a real opportunity right now. So thank you. Sending lots of love to all of you. And we'll be back here again next Thursday. We have another amazing principal, Dr. Mario Santos, will be talking about how to cultivate the fertile soil of learning. He'll do a little presentation in honor of his dear friend and mentor, Sir Ken Robinson, who passed away recently. So that will be another powerful presentation. But thank you for this gift, Joanne. We will take it with us. And lots of love to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Lots of love and light.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.